Hello everyone, this is John from Quilled and Twisted and welcome to part 1 of my complete Paper Princess tutorial. Today I'll be taking you through all of the basic shapes and techniques you will need to complete this project. So first up is rolling a tight coil. For this you will need a single strip of quilling paper that is 3mm or 1/8 of an inch in width, and you'll also need a slotted quilling tool, which as you can see just behind my thumb here, you can see that it has a small slot in the tip of the tool. So what you're going to do is you're going to insert the end of the paper into this slot. From there you can then rotate the tool in order to start forming the coil. Now some people like to roll inwards like this. Me personally, I prefer rolling outwards, so it's completely up to you whichever one you prefer to do, that it's going to achieve the same result in the end. So you're just going to use your forefinger and thumb to help guide the paper as you roll and rotate the tool with the other hand. You want to take care to roll with an even pressure. If you roll too tightly, you'll find it more difficult to shape the paper in the end. It can take a bit of practice, but practice makes perfect. So once you've finished, you're just going to take a bit of PVA glue. Just a small amount on the end of the strip will do. Smooth it down with the end of your finger. Once you're done, you can remove it from the tool. And there is your tight coil. Plain and simple, it's easy to do. Congratulations, you've made your first quilling shape. All future shapes from this point forward are just variations on this same technique, so let's go ahead with the next one. Okay, so next up is the loose coil. This is a variation on the one we did before, so we're going to go about this in exactly the same way by rolling the paper strip with your slotted quilling tool with the same even pressure as you did before. So once you get to the end, we're going to stop, because this is where it's different. This time we're going to remove it from the quilling tool before we glue it down, so make sure you are holding the end in place. And what you're going to do is you are going to relax your grip slightly and allow the coil to expand to approximately twice its original size. And once you're happy with it, then you can then take your PVA glue and glue the end down just as we did with the tight coil. So just add the glue and then smooth it down with your finger so it stays in place. And here's a quick side-by-side comparison of the tight coil on the left versus the loose coil on the right. So next we're going to do a teardrop shape. Making a teardrop shape is really very simple. You're going to follow all the same steps before and create a loose coil exactly the same way as we did in the last step. Letting it expand to roughly twice the size and then gluing it down. Now to make it into the teardrop shape, what you're going to do is you're going to take your loose coil and then using your forefinger and thumb, you're going to pinch one end hard. So you pinch it as hard as you possibly can. And then when you let go, it will stay in the teardrop shape. It's that simple. So the final shape we're going to need is a semicircle, also often referred to as a half moon shape or a gumdrop shape. So we're going to take another loose coil, exactly the same as we made it before, and this time you're going to push the nail of your thumb into the very center of the shape. So push it in as hard as you possibly can, and there it is. Now you've transformed your loose circle into a gumdrop shape. So there's all the 4 shapes that you need to know. If you can do these, then congratulations, you can do this project. Now the only difference is that these are quite small, so you will have to be able to make them bigger, and this is how you'd go about that. So technique number 1 is the tuck. This is the one you will use to make larger shapes. So you're going to take a strip of quilling paper, any size will do as this is only practice, and you're going to roll it the same way we would roll a tight coil. Now when you're getting towards the end, you're going to leave a tail that is approximately 3 times the diameter of your coil, so would 3 of those fit across this tail. Then you're going to take your next strip of paper, which is the same size, but I'm going to use yellow so that you can see that they're different strips. And you're just going to tuck the end in like so. And you want to make sure that we can't see it at all. You don't want it poking out above or below. You want to line it up so it's invisible. And then you're going to continue rolling the coil exactly the same as you were doing before. So you'll see that this is where the pink strip ends, and then this is where the yellow strip is going to continue. It's all tucked in nice and neat, and now we're getting towards making a larger coil. And if you want to make your coil even larger again, you're going to leave a tail, again 3 times the diameter of your current coil, so you might find that the tail has to be slightly longer. And you're going to take your next strip and tuck the end in, like so. We're going to line it up perfectly so that we can't see it, and then we're going to continue rolling just as before. There you can see where the green overlaps the yellow there, and now we're rolling this strip as if it was our original. Once you've got the coil to the size you would desire, you apply your glue and tuck it in like so. Now I'm not going to glue mine together because I want you to see what happens if you accidentally let go at this stage. You see that your coil rapidly expands and then they're not fit for purpose anymore. But thankfully nothing is wasted. What you would simply do is unroll this using your fingers like so, and then you can just take your slotted quilling tool and re-roll it all again, so nothing is wasted if you do accidentally let go. Technique number 2 is the roll. So after rolling a large tight coil, here I've used approximately 12 strips, you will often find that the edges are slightly raised and slightly uneven. Now this is perfectly normal, but of course we want our projects to look as neat and as professional as possible. So to improve the look of this, you're going to lay your coil on a hard flat surface, and then you're going to take the handle of your slotted quilling tool and you're just going to roll it back and forth a couple of times, much like using a rolling pin on dough or pastry. So just go back and forth a couple of times with some light pressure and you should see a much improved, smoother surface. It's much nicer than before. If we just show a side-by-side comparison here, you'll be able to see. If you find your coil doesn't give easily and you're having trouble flattening the edges as I am with this coil, it simply means that you've just used a little bit too much pressure and tension when rolling the coil. As you can see, there's a notch in the middle that's very difficult to roll over. So if I just push upwards with my thumbs, shift it upwards, and then flip it over and shift it back the other way, this should help loosen it up a little bit. So we're going to go back and forward, do this back and forth, up and down shift a number of times just to loosen up this coil. And then you should, after a while, feel that it's getting a little bit looser. You should have no trouble then rolling it out just as we showed before. So as you can see, this is much easier for me to roll and I'm getting a much smoother surface from it now. If you find that after using this up and down shift method that your coil is still too tight and you're still having trouble, or maybe you can't shift your coil at all, it simply means that you have used far too much pressure when rolling, and unfortunately you will need to re-roll your coil with much less tension. So technique number 3 is making a dome, and there are 3 ways to do this. The first of which is to just use your fingers. So I'm going to take my coil after I've rolled all the edges flat, and I'm just going to use my thumbs to push up the center of the coil, and then as I rotate it I'm going to move my thumbs further and further towards the edge of the coil, and I'm going to use my fingers to adjust it and make it sort of like an even dome shape. So you can just push it up and down and play around with it until you're happy with the results at the end. The second method I'm going to show you is the doorknob technique. So you're going to start with your tight coil as before, and you're going to start by pushing your thumbs up to create a shallow dome, just as we did in the first method. Next, you're going to place your fingertips on the very edge, and then you're going to press down slightly and rotate the coil in your hands, just like turning a doorknob. As you can see, the centre of the circle will slowly start to shift towards your palm, so you're just going to continue until you're happy with the shape, and then you can stop. Method number 3, and by far the most simplest of the method, is to use the Quilled Creations mini mould. The mini mould is made of hard plastic and consists of several different dome shapes of varying sizes. So what you're going to do is you're going to choose the ideal size dome and place your coil on top. You're going to push down at the centre of your coil and then slowly slide your fingers down to the outside edge, and this will create your dome shape. It's easy, it's simple, and you can be sure to get a perfectly even dome every time. So a variant on technique 3 is to create a flat bottom dome. To do this, you're going to create a dome in whichever method you preferred. So in this instance, I'm going to use the mini mold again. So once you have your dome, what you're going to do is you're going to hold the sides of it with your fingers in opposite places and then push down or tap it on a hard flat surface, and this will create the flat bottom effect that you're looking for. Keep in mind that if at any time you're not particularly happy with the way you've shaped a piece, just know that you can simply flatten the shape with your hand, re-roll it as we did with technique 2, and then have another go. Nothing is wasted. You can always try again until you are happy. Once you are happy with the shape you have made, you're going to take some PVA glue and you're just going to squirt some onto the inside and use your finger to spread it into a nice even layer. Now you only need a thin layer to do this. I personally add a little bit more than you need to because I like to make sure that it will hold. But once it's all completely covered, all the way to the edges, you're going to leave that to dry completely, and when it's dry it will go shiny and clear, so it will retain its shape. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is all of the basic shapes and techniques you will need to create this project. I recommend that you practice them until you are comfortable with them, and I would also practice using the tucking technique to create bigger versions of the basic shapes I showed at the beginning of this video. Once you are happy with that, feel free to move on to the next stage where I will show you how to create the base of your paper princess. So until then, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys!